What's good, internet? It's your boy Corey from the Hardwood Herald. We are here with my guy CP from KnicksFanTV. How we doing today, dude?
Good, man. Happy to be on with you, bro. How's everything?
Everything is going as good as it possibly can, man. I'm getting excited. You're somebody I look at as somebody who's taken the sports media landscape, I think, by storm. I think what you're doing is next level. I remember I was watching back one of my own videos on the TV, and you know how sometimes YouTube just, plays with the algorithm, and one of your videos came on, and I was looking at it, and it was an older episode or whatever. It said live and everything, and you had the chat going. It was like a post game stream, and I was like, damn, like this is official. And then somehow we crossed paths on Twitter, and I've been on your show or whatever, which was an honor. But yeah, man, I'm happy to have you on, because I think what you're doing, I think you're one of the up and coming game changers in this business.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. It's definitely a lot of work. But we found a white space with this that we're trying to capitalize on. So we just on the grind on a daily basis, bro. So I definitely appreciate it.
So how did the idea of KnicksFanTV come about?
Yeah. So, I was born into the sports radio generation, Mike and the Mad Dog. I was raised on Mike and the Mad Dog. You used to go to take your kid to work day with your father, and Mike and the Mad Dog would be blasting in the background. You're wondering what all these engineers are arguing about or what they're listening to. And that was, my childhood. My passion for New York sports was about going to those shows to hear the recaps, hear the fan reactions, all the caller reactions, and all the emotion. New York sports, that's what it's all about. It's a thrill of victory, the agony and defeat. And sports talk radio, Mike and the Mad Dog, they created it. They created that wave. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to recreate that in the digital social media age. So, another entity that does as well is the English Premier League teams. So one of the channels that I was following, even though I don't even follow the sport that much, was Arsenal Fan TV. And it was a similar concept where they would do a lot of post-game reactions and, again, just capturing that emotion from the fan base. So I kind of wanted to spin it in my own way. And I feel like that's kind of what we started doing with KnicksFanTV. So we started in the summer of 2017, NBA draft. I took my phone. I took a tripod, a little $20 tripod from Amazon, took the train into MSG, and just started recording. Content, interviewing fans. What's your reaction? Who do you think the Knicks are gonna pick? Once they did pick Frank, it was a lot of upset fans. You know what I mean? So capturing that reaction and everything, and I just threw it up on the channel, and just started from there. And that was the start of KnicksFanTV, June of 2017.
That's dope, man. What was the response like when you first launched it? It's because it's tough when you first launch something, right? Because you have this idea in your head, but you got to earn the trust of people.
It's tough, man. It'll really make you want to quit, but it's the ultimate test. It's the ultimate test of your passion to what you're doing, because in the beginning you may get 1 view, you may get 3 views on a video, 10 views on a video, so on and so forth. But with consistency, we started gaining steam. And then, me and Jay Ellis started doing split screen recaps or split screen live streams on Instagram. And then I say, you know what, let's move the post-game reactions. The post-game shows. Let's do it live on YouTube. Because what happened was after the Frank video, I was doing post-game recaps recorded and then putting them out the next day. And I say, what, it's too much tax, it's too much resources, too much time, and you lose that momentum. Sports is very much instant reaction. And I think social media does such a great job of capturing that no matter the platform. So that's why we went to YouTube and started to do it live.
So you mentioned Jay Ellis. What was your relationship with him before you started this? Is this somebody that you were friends with before this? Is it somebody that was doing something that you thought was cool and you were like, yo, let's link up? And how has he helped you? Because, it's hard to do things by yourself. You need like-minded people, to help you sometimes, right? So how has that helped your channel?
Yeah.
Since he came aboard.
I didn't know him from a hole in the wall. I had no idea who he was, but it was just on Instagram, just surfing and following, like-minded channels. I started following his stuff, started seeing when he would go live and started, commenting there, and then just hit him up, just DM'd him one day. I said, yo, let's do a collab. Let's do a split screen. see how it goes. And we just started building little by little from there. And then, like I said, we took it to YouTube. But, you know, the thing about Jay Ellis is, yes, we're Knicks fans. Yes, we're like-minded, but we also have complementary skill sets. You know what I'm saying? And that's big, especially in any type of venture that you're going into. You don't want to necessarily do things with your friends because you guys are boys and you think everything is going to be, you know, kosher in that regard. You want people who can also do some of the things that you can't, or also have the skill sets that you don't. And so that's where Jay Ellis came into play as well. And so it was very complimentary to start it.
I think you touch on something that you just DM'd him for a collab, right? And I think that's something that, you know, a lot of people that are coming up, you know, shouldn't be afraid to do. Like, sometimes you might DM somebody and you might not get a response, but other times you'll DM somebody, right? And you can make magic with the person that you're trying to link up with. So
and on that topic, you know, I was speaking to another creator, a big time creator as well. You know, certainly has a budding platform of his own. And as he was kind of asking me for advice, I said, you know, how often do you collaborate with the other content creators in your space? He's like, to be honest, I don't follow any of them. And, you know, it's an ego thing. It's an ego thing, especially as men. You don't want to necessarily, you know, reach out to your quote unquote competition. But what I was telling him is, you know, you can't look at it that way. You have to look at it as you're continuing to build your brand. Maybe you can bring something to that person's channel that brings insight to that person's audience, and they in turn come back to you, you know, and that's how I see it. You know, it's a rising tide lifts all boats type of thing. So never be afraid to collaborate with others or have an ego in terms of that nature, because you stunt your growth by doing that.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I worked in music for a long time, and you know, I toured all around the country, out of the country. And one of the things you realize is like how much touring with other acts helps you, because what you're doing is you're bringing your audience, they're bringing their audience, and you link up, and now you hope that there's a crossover.
Facts.
You know? So when you have, you know, all of these people on every week, you know, it not only are you helping them, but you're hoping that they bring, you know, some new viewers to you. And, you know, with the internet age, all you need is one person to hop on, they hit retweet or whatever, and next thing you know, you got a bunch more eyeballs on. So
that's it.
That's
it. That's it. It's the law of numbers, man. That's how I look at it.
That's it. How has KnicksFanTV evolved over the years since you started it?
Yeah. Well, like I said, you know, the first one was kind of like a fan on the street style show. And then we went to recording post games. From recorded post games, we went to live streaming. Then we went to live streaming from Instagram to live streaming on YouTube, then to live streaming, taking in caller reactions. You know, so we continued to grow. And then we did fan cave episodes. We did 2 dope fan cave episodes where we went to, you know, diehard Knicks fans' homes. They showed off their collections, their memorabilia, and things of that nature. Again, another way to tell stories of this historic franchise. You know, haven't won too much, but there's certainly a lot of stories to be told. And then we got into player interviews, you know, and that's really picked up steam, especially during the pandemic. The quarantine stream was really good content. We brought in the beat writers to give the fans insight into the team, those who cover the team on a daily basis. If you want to know about the draft, we're bringing in scouts like yourself, somebody who studies NCAA basketball, the ins and outs. You know, so it's really evolved a ton. And now we're kind of going into various lanes of content to serve our audience.
You know, you mentioned you having all of these people hop on the streams. You know, you've had Jamal Crawford hop on, right? You had Chuck D, who gave you guys a shout out on
Major,
right?
Yeah,
that was dope.
Mm-hmm.
Who is, you know, the first person that you reached out to that they were like, yeah, I'll hop on, and you were like, oh shit?
Yeah, first person, Chris Childs. First person on the beat. First guest was Tommy Beer, Forbes magazine. He was on the beat, very generous with us, and came on and knocked it out. Player wise, it was Chris Childs, and that was crazy. So when I reached out to him, he instantly was like, "All right, let's do it." And I was like, "Oh shit!" Like I didn't have a format, I didn't have questions. You know, I had never really done like a serious interview of that magnitude, so. my whole reaction was like, yo, we got to hit this shit out the park. Like this, I told Jay Ellis, I was like, this is it right here. Like we got to come correct, make sure all the gauges, all the switches and knobs are working and knock this thing out. And Chris came on. He talked to us like we were his friends. His stories were excellent. His stories were hilarious. And it was just, it was great. The fans really enjoyed it that night.
What do you think it is about traditional sports media right now that has people looking for, more independent platforms, looking for something else? What is it that people are tired of?
Well, I think you hit it on the head. It's traditional, and sports media, sports broadcasts really haven't changed that drastically over the last few decades. And so I think people are looking for, number one, I think they're looking for authenticity. When you look at some of the big boys, the ESPNs, even the MSG to a certain extent, it's very cookie cutter. When you go to ESPN or, SNY, they're telling you about the Knicks at a very high level. Right? What are the controversial topics? The Spike Lee incident, the Oakley incident, is KD coming to the Knicks, so on and so forth. We conversely, we're going to talk about, we'll talk about that and get the fan reactions to it. But we're going to talk about the rookie in the lottery all the way down to the guy in the G League that's on the come up. So we're trying to inform you about everything about the team that a lot of these major platforms either don't care to or just don't have the time to. So that's when, we're really able to niche it down and deliver to the audience. Like I said, another factor is the authenticity. When the fan comes to our channel, they see me as one of them. I'm an administrator of the channel. I'm a producer of the channel. I'm going to give you on every show, you're going to be entertained. You're going to be informed. And so I think that's what people are drawn to now in this social media age is the community aspect of it. We're building a community. And again, that authenticity feel, you can't recreate that on these major platforms. They're just not able to do that and cover the team as in depth as we can.
Yeah, I think, the word community hits hard, right? Because that's what you built. You built a community. You get, people running to you guys after a game. It's been a while since we've had games, in New York, but they'd rather come to you than go tune into MSG post game, right? Because they know that you're somebody, like you said, like them, that they see themselves in a little bit. They see themselves in the fan. You don't got a suit on, right? You got a snapback, you got a jersey on. It feels more real. It feels more authentic, and it keeps them coming back. And then you engage them. And I think that's huge, right? They're in the chat. You got the chat up on the screen and you're engaging them. At what point were you maybe a little bit overwhelmed by the amount of comments that you were actually getting in the chat, and trying to balance topics with going into the chat and engaging your audience?
It's hard as hell, man. When you're running a live show, and sometimes we'll get constructive feedback and we always welcome it. Sometimes we get the haters, and for the haters, I say, listen, it's not easy producing, directing, and hosting a live show. There's so many things that you're trying to manage. Make sure that's in the right place. Make sure all your gauges are up. Make sure your sound is working. Your lighting is good. And then you got to talk about the game. So it's a lot that you have to manage. But, we've taken on a lot of moderators for our live chat. I have an intern on our team, KnicksFanTV Dave. Shout out to Dave. We have volunteers that also help us with the content. So as we've grown, we've expanded the team a little bit to take some of that, that workload off of me. And so it's been working out very well so far. So
when I came on for the draft lottery episode, you had Manscaped sponsor it, right? Now, as a DIY operation, how have you approached looking for advertisers? Is this something that you feel like you actually have the platform that you can go out and look for? Are you waiting for people to kind of, maybe find you guys? And is that something that you're, thinking is, something you want to take a little bit to the next level and kind of integrate into, what you do more often?
Yeah, certainly. We have a budding platform, a niche platform, but with that, you have audience demographics, along with intellectual property. Data is like gold. And that's what these sponsors want to see. They want to see what your demographics look like. Does it fit their target market? And you want to introduce them to this new alternative form of media. And so I think that's what we've done. We've built our platform. We've built guest after guest after guest, pull those demographics out and we pitch it. We pitch it to these brands, and not just anything. I'm not trying to cheapen my product at all. These are definitely companies that have products that I would support or that I would recommend to you. I'm not just going to throw something out there that I haven't tried myself or that I wouldn't rock with myself. So we're not trying to cheapen the brand by any means, but it's just a lot of trial and error. It's just a lot of trial and error, looking for those brands that may be interested in marketing to your target market. Again, with a quality product, you try it out and see if they're willing to, roll the dice and experiment on the platform.
What is your end goal with the platform? Like, if SNY or Bleacher Report, one of these big conglomerates come calling, trying to buy you guys out, or, is that something you guys would be interested in? Or are you like, yo, we're building a community. I see where this is going, and I think we could do this ourselves. Do you have a vision, or, are you open to just kind of taking what's going to come to you?
Yeah, you know what? My vision for this is to build a network with KnicksFanTV being that pillar content for that network, or that flagship show for that network. So I'm going to continue to build shows within my channel, and then branch out and build a network of like-minded shows with like-minded creators, and that's what it's all about. We're gonna build that next network. I'm gonna be on my Sumner Redstone, my Rupert Murdoch mix, just a little bit more debonair, and so that's what we're gonna do, man. We're gonna take it on in this digital frontier. I would say, with the major players, the Bleacher Reports and so on, I don't think you should ever shut the door to those type of opportunities, especially if it meets your goals, whatever they may be. But I think the what you want to do is be strategic about it, and not, again, give up your intellectual property or give up your data, because those things are more valuable than gold these days. So I think it's not to slam the door on those. Of course, I want to keep it independent, and you always want to remain independent, but be strategic in terms of how you work with these guys. Is it a partnership? Is it a licensing agreement? Do I keep ownership of my content? That's very important. We saw that with Joe Budden and Spotify, the issues that they were going through. And Joe, I love that, he took his audience through that journey. And yes, he did go to Spotify, but that wasn't the end game. The end game was to try to infiltrate and learn what they were doing behind the scenes, how they were calculating engagement behind the scenes. Were they getting their fair share, and knowing your worth? And that's what Joe Budden, that was the lesson that he was trying to preach in terms of when they left Spotify. So similar. It's just being strategic with these relationships. And if it doesn't work out that way, continuing to chart on that path of independence and being that grassroots for the fans, by the fans movement.
One last question.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You go on Twitter, there are new podcasts, Twitter accounts, websites, networks popping up by, the hundreds, thousands every day. What advice would you give anybody kind of looking to break into the business in a non-traditional way? The kid who didn't go to journalism school, the kid who didn't go and get a degree in sports management, just somebody who is like, I think I could do this. I have a passion for it, and I want to go for it.
Yeah, it's funny because that was the original start when I was first going to school. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna do sports, I'm gonna do sports management, and then I got scared when it didn't seem like there's very good opportunities to make a living. I was all about making money in those days, so I abandoned that. And years and years and years later, I'm back in that lane. So it's very non-traditional, as you said. But my advice, I would say a couple things. Number one, find your lane. Right? Find your lane. What is your interest in sports in particular? Is it a particular team? Is it an aspect of sports? Is it the draft? Is it the business side of sports? Find your lane and niche it down. Niche it down. This is what, having a lot of options creates, especially in the media landscape, is that it creates these little micro segments where people build communities around a particular topic of interest. So you don't have to cover every single sport and every single major topic. You don't have to cover the whole NBA at large if you don't want to. You know, if you're able to do that and you have the insights and the expertise in it, by all means, go for it. But in media, what they say is the riches is in the niches, right? So find that niche and double down on it. And then I would say be hungry. You know, be hungry. Can you be consistent? Can you take a month where you can create a new piece of content once a week? Just start with once a week. You know, I think a lot of people put pressure on themselves to say, I got to create, I got to create, I got to create. Just try to be consistent, you know, for a month in and month out basis where you're getting low views, you're not getting any money, you're losing sleep, you have a day job, because it's very tough. And if you can get through those tough stages in the beginning, then you know that you truly found your passion. And then again, double down on it. And then I would say, like I said in the beginning, network and collaborate. Always be networking, always be engaging. I think one of the things is that sports media now, the barrier of entry is very low. So there's a lot of competition, but the authentic voices are going to rise above the crop. And also those who stay engaged are going to rise above the crop. So it's not just about posting your content on Twitter, posting your content on YouTube and saying, hey, you know, listen to this, because everybody's doing that. You have to be able to get into authentic conversations, authentic engagement. And then that person who you're talking to will click on your profile and say, hey, what do they do? Okay, let me check them out. Oh, they did this last night. Okay, let me share this with Corey. You know what I mean? Check this show out. Corey then shares it with his group and so on. And so that's how you grow, especially with this hyper competition. It's hyper competitive. So you have to continue to network and collaborate and you'll grow your following that way.
Well said, man. You know, I think that's one of the things that people don't understand. Like, you know, you got to support people the way you want to be supported too, right? Like, if you want somebody to share some stuff out, build a relationship with that person, make them feel like they can invest in you. And, and I think that you guys, you've done it. You know, the people you work with, collaborate with have done it. You know, everybody feels like, you know, you are reachable, you're attainable, but you're putting this platform, you know, out on the internet for Knicks fans that they feel like they can go to and be a part of and build in that community. And, you know, I'm, like I said, since the first video I saw, I've been super impressed with it, by the production, the work, the consistency, the grind. I mean, we're in a pandemic and you got a Knicks show. The Knicks haven't played since, you know, what, March?
Yeah.
And you've been putting consistent episodes out, finding ways, you know, with the draft, it's getting pushed back. You're having new draft people on all the time. You're doing all of these different things. And like you said, the consistency that, you know, you've been able to do, and the creativity over this whole period has been, you know, really awesome to watch. So thank you for doing this, man. I'm excited to put this on paper. I'll be excited to get this out in video. And yeah, I appreciate you stopping by.
Definitely, man. And I would just say, two more quick things. I would just say that, you know, through this time, I think the most rewarding thing as you grow and as you see your following come up is like, especially for those people that are out of town, globally around the world, you know, you get those DMs from people. Guy be like, you know, I'm from North Dakota, I'm from Calgary, there's no Knicks fans out here, I have nobody to talk to about it. You know, bringing those people into the mix, that's a very rewarding thing. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't know how that feels like. I was born and raised in New York. You talk about Knicks, Yankees, Jets to anybody, you know, to a stranger on the street, you can get into a full-blown conversation with. So you never have that void that some other people have. And then also through this pandemic, you know, it's put a lot of stress on people, especially mentally. And I couldn't tell you how many people have DM'd me and said, you know what, you know, I've been in a tough place. This show gets me through it. You know, I'm going through this, I'm going through that. This show really, you know, helps me, you know, there's a welcome distraction and so on and so forth. So those sort of things really, you know, keep you motivated to continue to grow the brand.
Yeah, no doubt, man. You know, I am like that. I'm the Bulls fan in New York.
Yeah, there you go. Right.
I can't, I could talk about maybe Michael Jordan with, a stranger on the street, but I can't get into why Kirk Heinrich is my all-time favorite player with just anybody. And so, yeah, the internet communities that you find, like you said, those niche communities, they mean something. I
Right.
think my longest consistent relationship has been with the Real GM Chicago Bulls, message board. I've been on that since I was in high school, and I think I signed up in 2003.
Right.
So those communities that you build all around the country, around the world, they become a part of you. So I'm glad you touched on that, man.
It definitely matters, and it goes to one more thing in terms of tips. It was one that I told Jay Ellis. It was funny. I was telling Jay Ellis this as we were walking into the MSG for a game, and I was like, bro, you never know who's watching. We got to keep doing this on YouTube. You never know who's watching. 2 seconds later, we get approached by NYPD officer. Love your show. Boom, boom, boom. Walk upstairs, get approached by just random fans. Love the show. Boom, boom, boom. And so I tell JL, so like, you never know who's watching. And then shortly after that, we get a Twitter shout out from Chuck D. Chuck D, I just signed up for KnicksFanTV. And it's just little things like that. Like I'm telling JL, so you never know who's watching. And so I think you had a question in terms of like what was my favorite interviews or something like that. There was a lot. I would definitely say Rasheed Wallace being one of my favorite players was definitely up there because, first of all, he doesn't do a lot of interviews. So for him to do hours, meant a lot. Meant a lot. And then he gave us an hour of his time. That meant a lot. Jamal Crawford, another one of my favorite players. That one meant a lot. Xavier McDaniel, that's been our highest viewed video with between the long form interview and the micro content. We amassed over 160,000 views on Xavier McDaniel interview. And that was that one hit it out the park. But with Chuck D, with him embracing us at such an early stage in the game, and then, what he can bring to our channel is that, you see the confluence of hip hop and basketball and how it's basically emerged into one culture.
Yes.
When you look at the rise of Public Enemy and the rise of basketball going into the 80s, getting out of the cocaine era, going into Bird and Magic, and ultimately into the Jordan era, Chuck D lived that because that was at the same time when hip hop and Public Enemy was taking off. Yep. So he's seen the two really merge, out of the ashes. And so he's able to tell those stories that, no one else can tell because he lived it. He experienced it and he's seen it. So when we've had content like, remembering the late great Kobe Bryant and having Chuck come on and give his perspective, his firsthand account of meeting Kobe and what he meant to the game, John Thompson, the passing of John Thompson, having Chuck D come on and talk about what Georgetown meant to the culture. And also obviously with everything with the coronavirus and civil unrest, again, having him come on and tell those stories because he's lived it. It's been his contributions to the channel have been valuable. And then on top of that, having him as a mentor, it means a lot.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. Thank you for doing this again. I appreciate it always. Every conversation we have is a good one. And, I appreciate real basketball talk, real basketball analysis, and real passion, especially from New York, and the level of appreciation that I have for the diehard Knicks fans out there.
Well, we're a special bunch, man, but I definitely appreciate it. Anytime, bro. Love to do these things.